everybody, and welcome to the AntiCheat version 3.0 setup. I'm going to show you both a little bit about manual and a little bit about using R2Modman. You're basically going to pull this from the same place. You're going to mess around with the same exact files. The structure is the same, so even if you're doing it manually, you should be able to follow along. As usual, if you have any questions, join me in my Discord. So if you're doing it manually, we're going to start there. Make sure you open Steam. Right-click, manage, browse local files. Okay, so my install has a bunch of DLLs that I'm testing and whatnot, but make sure that you have BepInEx installed. Okay, so BepInEx comes from Thunderstore. You're going to find that on valheim.thunderstore.io. Again, if you're under the Valheim community, you'll be able to see this. We'll click it and load. Make sure you get BepInEx. I'm going to quickly show you what the content of this folder is. We're going to download, take a look, and open this up, and we're going to extract this to a new folder. So extract, what you need is these files right here. So you need to go one folder deep. Don't worry about these. These are Thunderstore specific, okay? This is just the icon and the manifest that tells us what the versions are, and of course the description, aka the README. So go inside of this folder, copy all of this, and you're going to paste that into your clean Valheim install, and I think I have a clean. So your clean install should look just like this, okay? So we are going to highlight all these files, and we are going to drag these here, all right? I'm not going to do it because I want to keep this clean, but you'll do that, and then you'll have very similar to what I have, which will be a BepInEx, plugins, configs, patchers, cache, all that stuff. The mods typically go in the plugins folder. They can be anywhere in the plugins folder unless the mod itself is looking for a specific folder structure. Okay. Patchers, obviously patcher mods. I have one installed on my server that removes Valheim Plus because my server host likes to force that on me. So I made one that removes it every single time it loads. So patchers will be patchers. Mods, configs. You'll have BepInEx config by default in most things. You might have plan build. You might have other things installed. So default install and manual install, that's how you do it. I'm going to go ahead and delete both of these because I don't need those in my downloads. So we're going to close that out. Now, let's say I want a mod. You, as a manual installer, will go out, click the mod, you'll download, manual download, you'll get the DLLs, you'll put them in the right spots, right? And the right spots are BepInEx plugins, and inside will be a DLL. You might have a folder and then a DLL, whatever you want to do and whatever you want to set up, as long as the mod allows it to be in a non-super specific folder structure, you're fine. So I'm going to use R2Modman, which is on Valheim Thunderstore.io. It's pinned. It's right next to BepInEx. This is a mod manager. Keep in mind, you cannot install with mod manager if you don't have a mod manager. So this is a manual install. You're going to launch it. You're going to set things up. You're going to choose your game. I'm going to use that simply because it allows me to download mods super fast, launch vanilla, and launch modded. So without further ado, I've created a profile. So by default, you're going to see something like this. You're going to have profiles. You're going to be in a game selection. You're going to select Valheim. You're going to create a new profile. I created AntiCheat setup, so I'm going to select it. I went to the online tab already. I've downloaded the mods that I want to download. I've downloaded BepInEx, of course, which should come with all the mods, hopefully. If it doesn't, download it manually and then install your mods. So, AzuAnticheat, Word is Love, and Odin Crafty Boxes are the test subjects today. So, AntiCheat needed, obviously, for the video, and the other two are just going to be test and example mods. So I'm going to set this up, and we're going to get the AntiCheat set up as if you were setting up a server to do it. And I'm going to do as little talking as I can, and I'm going to explain things as fast as I can. So without further ado, first things first, boot your game. Okay? This is going to generate a file. If you're doing this on manual install, it's going to generate it in your manual install location under BepInEx plugins. Okay, if you're using the mod manager, you're going to go where I'm going to go. Folder structure is the same, so again, manual users, you can follow along. We're at the main menu, so as an admin, all of my stuff is already generated based on the mods that I have installed. So I'm going to go to Settings, Browse Profile Folder. And if you notice, this is the same structure. Okay, so BepInEx, plugins. Inside of here, you're going to have a file. Okay, and AzuAnticheat folder, my mods. This is going to contain the hashes of the mod, which change with every single version and every single iteration of the mod. So keep that in mind. If the mod itself is updated, this will not match with what your server has. This will not match anything. So if your players decide to update the mod, but you haven't updated the server, this will kick them. Okay. So make sure that with every single iteration of a mod that comes out, you're changing your hashes. I realize that this is tedious, and I realize that this is a pain in the butt for a lot of people. Some people have preferred to stay on version 1.6 for this exact reason. What this does is, if you're an active admin, this benefits you greatly. If you're an inactive admin, in the sense that you love to manage your servers remotely, this is not fantastic for you. That means, personally, I think that means you're being lazy. But second, what that means to you as a person and as an administrator means that you have to generate this constantly. Every single time a mod updates, you generate it. Okay? Most of the time, if you don't have gigantic mod packs, that's not a big pain in the butt. But if you have 100 plus mods or 70 plus mods, I can see how that's bad. I tend to play with maybe 30 or less, simply because there's a lot of mods that aren't optimized. But without further ado, name, hashes. We are going to Control A to highlight everything in this file, and Control C. We're going to leave that in our clipboard. Okay. So the anti-cheat itself here on my server, I need to open my FTP. We're going to open the FTP. This is my profile on the left-hand side. I've already got it going into the anti-cheat setup BepInEx plugins. I'm going to make sure that BepInEx is installed on my server. If you're using gPortal, the way to do that is to make sure your server's off, set it all up, turn on Valheim Plus, even if you don't want it, okay? Turn your server on. Once everything generates, turn your server off. Keep in mind that's gPortal specific, might need to be also on other server hosts, but for right now, I'm just going to explain that very briefly. So turn this on, turn server on. Let everything generate, turn server off. Leave this on. Don't get rid of it. So open the FTP. We're going to now have BepInEx, plugins, and inside of here, I've already got the mods. I've already dragged them over, but you would just drag them from wherever your local folder is that you're installing them, if it's your default folder, if it's whatever you want to, you can drag and drop these to your server. So in configs, I have a ton of configs. I've already generated these. I'm actually going to delete these to show you what it's going to look like. Okay, so those were the anti-cheat files. If they don't generate, then BepInEx did not load successfully on your server. Okay, so we are going to boot up the server, and we're going to watch this live in the background. Okay, so we're going to say OK, reconnect, and as you can see, it regenerated all the files. So let's start with the first one. We're going to go here, open Notepad++. So these are your limits. You can change these values live. The anti-cheat has a file watcher and server sync. File watcher means it's looking at every single one of the config files and detecting changes, and therefore will update itself. Limits, so player's health limit, carry weight limit, all of this stuff. If they pass this value, they get kicked, right? Gray list, optional mods. White list, enforced mods. Moderator list, anyone that you want to be able to bypass DLLs and only have limited restrictions. So I give you an example. Here's your example. Here's what each thing means. Read those. Read the description. Make sure you set this up. This is the Steam ID. Steam ID. Steam 64 ID, if we're being super specific. Same thing that you're pretty much going to set up for your admin list and your moderator list, all that stuff. But this comes with additionals. Take note of the tabs and the spaces and set these up accordingly based on each one. So you can really just copy this and paste. Notice that the spacing is not the same as the example. That will error out. So we're going to delete that. Now it's the same. Yay, cool. Super happy. This is a new person. And with me copying and pasting that, I just realized I got rid of my clipboard, but I'll explain that here in a minute. So moderator list, we are going to set up the webhook really fast. This comes from Discord. Discord webhooks are right-clicking on your server, server settings, integrations, webhooks. Okay. I've generated one already. You click a new one, you're going to get a thing like this. You specify what channel that you want this to output to. Copy the webhook URL. Go to the webhook file on the server. Notepad++. I give you instructions and an example. Basically, all this says is that you can have multiple webhooks. The hook property must remain the same. Do not rename, aka don't change that away from the word hook. You can change this, but all you need to do is delete that, and then delete that, and then we're going to grab this and paste. Okay, that's my webhook. This is set up. I can rename this to whatever I want. I can say nah, 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 and that's my new server. If I had a different server, but I wanted to output things to the same location, I can go nah, 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 this, boom, space, hook, new link, right? So that's exactly how you set that up. I'm going to leave it on example server here and close. So, whitelisted mods. We need to generate the content for that. Luckily for you, we already have. Go here, client side, my mods, plugins, and AzuAnticheat, my mods. We're going to grab this. We are going to highlight everything. So Control A, Control C, close. Now, server side, whitelisted mods. These are the ones that you want to enforce. Enforce, whitelist is enforcing. Highlight everything, paste. My job's done. I've set up my whitelist. Although, if you have admin mods in here, you're going to enforce admin mods on people. Okay. The reason I recommend using R2Modman is simply because you can create profiles. You can create a new profile, call it admin, call it client, call it whatever you want to, install the necessary mods, and then just load them up. Okay. So whitelisted mods is already generated. We have the content here. So AzuAnticheat, this right here tends to be if they're downloading their mods via Vortex, if they prefer Vortex and not R2Modman, and they want to grab things from Thunderstore manually, whatever, if you're installing manually, you probably won't have this, okay? So I highly recommend you delete that. You save your whitelist with what mods you want to enforce. Close this out. I'm going to go to my gray list. Gray list is set up the exact same way as the whitelist. You're just going to highlight everything and paste, all right? I put that on my gray list. I want people to be able to get in even if they have it. Not a big deal, right? So I've set this file up, that file up, that file up, that file up, and that file up. My anti-cheat is done, effectively. So I'm going to go to my server. I'm going to reboot. I am going to have the mods that I need installed. And I'm going to show you, we're going to reconnect. In admins, I'm not an admin. I'm one number different away from being an admin. So that would need to be an 8 for me to be counted as an admin. So guarantee always test as non-administrator and non-moderator. Both moderators and administrators bypass the DLL check. So moderators must have all mods included and cannot have any mods that they're not supposed to, other than they can have additional ones as a moderator. Okay. What that means is they must have the minimum that is in the mod pack, but they can have additional as a moderator. And of course, follow the moderator controls that you have set up, true, false on explore map, etc. So I'm going to launch this. I'm going to grab my server IP, which should already be in my game. I connect to this frequently. I do recommend downloading Fastlink or Quick Connect or something of that nature, so you don't have to type in the password every time. But since this is a new profile, I'm going to have to kind of show you that the manual way, the long way. So it's already in here. I'm going to connect to my server. And we'll skip past this load screen so you guys don't have to watch. All right. So as you can see, I spawned in, no problems, no issues. If you want to quickly test the anti-cheat, the easiest, fastest way is to try and spawn something or open the console and try and do something. We can type in, /spawn test, right? We're going to see the anti-cheat kicked us. It says kicked for trying to use a cheat via the console. And as you can see, we also got a little bit of Discord output. So we can go straight here. And, well, I clicked on my server. We can see spawn test happened, right? So we can also see spawn blah, 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 blah. Anything that gets output to our webhook, we can look at and check. So now, without doing anything additional, we're going to change my client-side mod, and we're going to download a new one. I'm just going to download Chatter. It's a very good chat mod. Most people will probably go and download things that they think they can have and try and make it into your server. So we're going to click Start Modded again. Keep in mind, Chatter was not set up on the whitelist, was not set up on the gray list. So if I did everything correctly, and cross fingers that I did, I mess this up a lot when I go into tutorials. But we'll say Start Game, click, and I always mess up by accidentally clicking my default world. So I want to make sure I don't do that this time. And we're going to connect to the server. And this load screen, I am unfortunately going to make you sit through because I want you to see the process. They should, right before they spawn, it's going to guarantee that it's checked everything. It's got their Steam ID. It's got their character name. It's got every ounce of detail that it can possibly get from the player. And cheat detected. Okay? So they know exactly what they got detected for. Their game closes. And if you need to know what they got detected for, you can go on your server in BepInEx logoutput.log. This file right here is basically your bread and butter. You'll be able to load this file and scroll all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so down to the bottom is subjective. I'm the only person that's connected, so there's not a lot going on. But we can see all of the hashes that they installed. We can see what they had. So anti-cheat, chatter, display BepInEx info, ward is love, whatever. And then it says this guy has non-whitelisted or mismatched mods found, chatter. So we know that chatter was the one that was different. And then right here's the hash that he had. Okay? So if that hash does not match yours, that's why. That is the main reason why. Do not, under any circumstance, unless you 100% trust that that hash is correct, do not copy that and add that to your whitelist. Here's the main reason. There's people that know how to code. There's people that know how to make custom DLLs. There's people that know how to modify DLLs. And that hash will be different every time. Okay, so if they try to connect to your server and they got kicked for a mod, do not immediately trust that that was correct unless it was you as the admin or you as a moderator that's helping the admin. Okay, don't trust it. Do not trust it. I repeat, do not trust it. So we know that that's a problem. We want to add that to our whitelist. Because I am the administrator, I know that that's correct. You can do this manually. You can go to BepInEx plugins again. Go to your anti-cheat folder. We are going to edit, and we're only going to grab chatter. Okay, you don't need to grab all the others. You can if you want. You don't need to grab all the others. All you need to do is grab the offending mod. So if you're an admin, you could download it real quick and boot your game up. Just do that. Jump to your server. Config. We are going to go to the whitelist, notepad, and we're going to add it in the same location. So chatter. Keep in mind these are always in alphabetical order. So I sort it based on that. So we're going to add that in the correct location or a rough enough location. If it's on the list, if it's not in alphabetical, doesn't matter. It just makes it a little bit easier to read. So now we can go in to our server again, and we should not get kicked. Cross fingers. All right, the game's loaded, so we're going to go here. Make sure that I'm clicking on my server here. And type in the password. And even as a non-administrator, I should not get kicked now because my admin has updated my whitelist to allow the mod that I just had installed. So as you can see, we're in, no issues, no problems. And again, a good test for the anti-cheat is always to try and spawn something, hit something with crazy amounts of damage, whatever you want to do. As an admin, you can test that pretty freely. You can spawn in super strong weapons and test. You can have your health go above 25. So I'm going to actually show you the live updating. So I'm going to have my health, if it's anything above 25, which as you can see right now is 29. If it's anything above 25, I want to be kicked, right? So I'm going to go to my anti-cheat. This is my server. I'm going to go into my anti-cheat here, notepad, and we have a health limit. Currently it's at 1,000. I'm going to set that at like 10, and I'm going to save the file. As soon as I save the file, I missed it. There it is. Cheat detection, modified health, game closed. So make sure you put this back. That was simply a test. So as you can see, we get an output to our Discord because we set up our webhook, right? User's health is above your health limit of 10. Is this normal? Their max health is 28.196. You get all that output simply by changing it. Live updates, so don't worry about changing anything on the fly. If for some reason you changed something and it's not taking any kind of reflection on your server, you can just reboot the server and it will apply. Guaranteed, no problems, no issues. So hopefully that's a good overview of how to set all this stuff up. Sorry these videos are always 20 minutes. There's a lot to cover, and I know I said I wouldn't talk a bunch, but I word vomit. Sorry guys. I tried to go over it as fast as I could, copy paste, and not blast your ears with unnecessary information. Anyways, see you guys in the next video.